What is up, everyone? This is Mike from Whiskey Morgue, and today we are talking The Thing Expanded. So pour yourself some whiskey and let's dip that heated wire in the petri dish and find out what this is made out of.
You gotta be kidding.
When I saw that the runtime for this doc was nearly 5 hours long, I knew they weren't kidding. So the creator VC team is known for the long doc format, and they've mastered it, but that's typically dealing with upwards of 80 movies spanning an entire decade. As much as I'm a fan of The Thing, even I began to question, can we talk about this movie for 5 hours? And in short, yes, 100% yes we can.
Okay!
The greatest strength about this doc is that it doesn't just celebrate it, but dissects it from every single angle. It acknowledges that audiences discovered this film over time through different points of entry because, let's face it definitely wasn't an overnight success story. It took a beating at the box office, but slowly became a classic. So the doc starts with the origin story, Who Goes There by Campbell Jr. It goes to the source material that inspired Carpenter with the original film, but then we go into soundtracks, video game, and we even touch on the CGI Fest prequel. So when it comes to these docs, we know that the interviews are always top-notch and we get a star-studded cast. And this one here is kind of insane. The fact that they got almost all surviving cast members, including Kurt Russell himself, who rarely speaks about this, is front and center, indulging and reliving some of these moments. We got Keith David and of course Carpenter talking about it.
That's a powerful movie. I know this. I recognize this.
But then you have icons in the industry who want to be part of the discussion, who are gushing over this film and how it inspired their own work. Legends like Guillermo del Toro, Greg Nicotero, and even Eli Roth.
You know you're in front of a classic.
I don't think you can find a more pure parable of our times.
Trust's a tough thing to come by these days.
What makes these interviews really interesting is that they're not just riffing off trivia and facts that we already know. There's a ton of rich discussion and even debate. Is the thing sentient? Is it just operating on instinct? What genre even is this film? Psychological thriller, horror, sci-fi, cosmic terror, psychological paranoia thriller? And that's part of why The Thing endures, is because nobody can fully define it. Yet, here we are, still talking about it.
We couldn't foresee what impact it would have.
It's inspired me to want to make movies.
Just a little ahead of its time, maybe.
One of the coolest things is how Carpenter didn't want the cast to know who was infected at any particular point in time while filming, because he wanted that paranoia and suspicion to bleed into the scenes and their acting. And honestly, you can feel that in the movie.
We're gonna find out who's who.
You have any appreciation for science fiction, you're gonna like that movie.
There's this constant ambiguity hanging over every scene that really highlights the uncertainty, which has generated decades of discussion. Even now, people still debate the ending. Is it Childs? Is it McCready? It's the eyes, the breathing, the whiskey glass. And we know Carpenter enjoys keeping people guessing.
12 men are going to be killed in awful ways.
I had to embrace the darkness. End of the world stuff.
The behind-the-scenes material and stories is incredible. At one point, they talk about how they got a bus full of the cast and crew heading up to base camp to film on this glacier. Except for Carpenter, of course. He was smoking cigarettes in a helicopter. But the rest of the crew are on this bus, and the bus slides and nearly goes off the edge, hitting ice in these treacherous conditions. And it's hanging there, and it's ready to go down. And who gets everyone calmed and organized and slowly gets people to move off the bus? Kurt Russell. And that's when they knew they had the real McCready.
I just want to get up to my shack and get drunk.
That's McCready.
The movie wasn't just psychologically brutal, but it was physically brutal to film too. And like the creature itself, this film constantly mutated during production. And the documentary gives us all that. The rewrites, alternate scenes, the revision of script, the shoehorning of more practical effects in there. And one thing that Carpenter mentions is that this film became a lot darker than he expected. It was no longer just the monster movie that he set out to make. I think that's one of the key takeaways from the documentary, is that it's not scary because of the creature alone, but it's scary because of how unstable identity becomes. When discussing The Thing, you need to talk practical effects. And this doc does that. And it goes into set design, production, lighting, the use of color. This thing is thorough. And hearing industry legends talk about Rob Bottin's effects work, you understand why these creatures are still so disturbing today.
Makeup effects was thrust into the forefront.
This hasn't been touched.
Oh, that looked cool.
That was all Rob stuff. He had a very fertile imagination.
There's this one point in the doc where Del Toro talks about how the best monsters need to be really scary, but also weirdly beautiful at the same time. And The Thing absolutely nails that. You're horrified by what you're seeing because, let's face it, man, some of these things are gnarly, but at the same time, it's so mesmerizing and you can't look away. If you're a fan of The Thing, and I'm assuming you are because you're watching this, this doc is an essential viewing. The Thing Expanded doesn't just show why Carpenter's film works, but how this film infected pop culture and kept evolving long after 1982. So thank you and big shout out to the team at Creator, and thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. I want to know your Thing theories down below. Until next time, cheers, Deaners.